State assessment update, Mr. Hounsom.
I guess a rite of spring and the end of the school year is kind of
His new assessments, right?
here. So I wanted to take this opportunity just to update you on the different assessments that we'll be participating here as we move through the next couple of months. The ones that we're going to look at tonight, I put a list here on this first slide. We'll look at the grade level assessments, which we commonly refer to as the MAP test. We'll look at end of course assessments, which we call EOC assessments. We'll talk about the ACT now and in the future in the district. ASVAB testing, armed services, vocational aptitude, battery testing, which we do with our sophomores. Access testing with our English language learners, advanced placement testing, and then a little bit about the future of assessments in the spring 2018, next year and beyond, some of the changes that we'll be seeing after this year. So, first of all, for the grade level assessments, that is for all students in grades 3 through 8. They will be assessed in English language arts and mathematics. For those students in grades 5 and 8, they have slightly more testing. They'll have larger English and math tests with performance events, and also grades 5 and 8 are where we test science in the state of Missouri. Now, those assessments are written to the Missouri Learning Standards. To clarify, they're written to the old Missouri Learning Standards, not the ones that were adopted in April of 2016. And we'll talk about the future of assessments. These are currently written to the old standards. It is an online assessment, so we'll talk about computer preparation and how we prepare for students testing on computers in just a bit. It does, because of the online assessment, it's no longer what you might remember as a traditional multiple choice test or short answer test. They have enhanced technology item types where kids are dragging and dropping and sorting and grouping. So we'll talk about how we hopefully prepare students to where item types and knowing how to answer questions are not the obstacle in showing what it is that they know in a subject area. This does not, now this involves all of our 3 through 8 students except for our most severely handicapped special ed students, who they are exempt from taking this grade level testing. They take another assessment called the MAP-A, which is an alternate assessment, but other than that, every student that we have in grades 3 through 8 participates in this MAP testing.
So if a student comes to the district like now, do we still test them?
We do test them. However, when it comes to accountability on the APR, there are provisions for students who are in your district for less than a year.
Okay.
So we do test
we
them.
do test them, but
held accountable until they're here for the entire year.
Okay, thank you.
The online assessment, this is, I think, the 3rd year of online assessments. I think I've told you every spring that this is going to result in a quicker return of results. That is yet to happen, but the promise is this year that it will. We are in year 2 of this current test, so anything that needed to be worked out, I'm confident was worked out last year, and so we should get results back for students and parents a little bit quicker than we have in the past. As students get a little older, they move on to end-of-course assessments. This is for targeted courses, typically grades 9 through 12. We do have some 8th graders participating in the Algebra 1 assessment, which is common. But in math, we do end-of-course assessments in Algebra 1, which is the required assessment before kids graduate, geometry and Algebra 2. In English, we test in English 1 and English 2, with English 2 being the required assessment. In science, we test in biology, and in social studies, we test in U.S. government. So students take these assessments after they have completed the course. That is tied to this assessment is the timing. So unlike the grade level assessments in that kids, you know, a 7th grader is going to take the 7th grade assessment whether they're ready for it or not. End of course assessment, students will take the assessment once they've finished the course regardless of their age. So we like the end of course assessment structure better. It's kind of testing the right kids at the right time. These are written again to the older Missouri Learning Standards. One thing that's a little bit unique about the end of course assessments is that the results on the end-of-course assessments are included in the student's final semester grade. In most classes, it counts as just a regular test. We do get end-of-course results back 5 days after we close the assessment window, so it is a quick return, and we do have those back before the end of the semester. As far as preparation for state assessment, so some things that we'll be doing over the next couple of months. Obviously, with all of this being online, it's almost 6,000 testing sessions that we'll be giving over the next couple of months. So identifying all of the devices, getting them all ready to go, making sure they're up and running. These assessments also include listening items, and so having all of the headsets ready and earbuds and all of the preparation. Ginger King, the technology department, all the counselors and principals in the building, a lot of it is just management and getting things organized. So there's a lot of planning going in to make sure all the schedules work and that we have places open and that it all flows together. So that's not a small task by any means. Along with that are the training for our teachers who administer the assessments. They go through training for test security and all the testing do's and don'ts. This is a state standardized test, so there are standard procedures. So we make sure that we go through all of that. There's also the training for the teachers to understand the testing platform. We are not into the practice of teaching to the test, but I do believe it's only fair that students have a chance to see what they'll be asked to do on the assessment and the different types of activities. Graphing a line, knowing how to graph a line and knowing how to manipulate the tools to graph a line on an online assessment are two different things. So what we want to do is we will take students through practice items so that they can get a handle on the different types of questions they will answer and all of the different tools that they will be asked to use and manipulate. So we want to take care of that so that there's no discomfort when students get in there. I will mention all of the practice tests that we will have students move through. There are video tutorials. There's everything available. All of that is available publicly. You don't need a school district login or password to get to it. But on the state testing website, you can click on the practice tests and go through all of the different practice tests that are offered for our students and watch all of the tutorials. So it's kind of interesting to see some of the different things that students are doing. But again, it's all in the name of being comfortable and feeling confident when they get in there, that they're truly showing what it is they know and not how to take a test. So we want to take care of that. As far as content, obviously we're preparing students all during the year, during our courses. We have common assessments to measure students all throughout the year. I wouldn't say we do anything special to prepare kids other than just trying to do a good job all year long. I don't think we over-prepare going into this or spend a lot of time practicing specifically for the test. Obviously, throughout all of this, communication is important. From central office through me as the district test coordinator to all of our building test coordinators, through all the proctors, principals, students, parents, communication and making sure everyone knows what we're doing is important, and we try to do the best we can with that. We'll have a map letter that will go out. Principals will send out information. And overall, we want to make sure that we hopefully communicate our philosophy that we don't want this to be a high-stakes, stressful environment for kids. We don't want them feeling pressure to overperform what they're capable. We want them to be comfortable, relaxed, confident that they're prepared, and simply go in and do their best on the assessment and hopefully not lose sleep or stress about it. It's nothing to get, we don't want to cause student discomfort over this. That's not what it's about. So hopefully we communicate that well. Beyond state assessments, the ACT, the state of Missouri has provided the ACT for all juniors in the state. The testing date for our ACT testing is Wednesday, April 19th. On that same date, we will administer the ASVAB test, the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test, to all RHS sophomores. We begin looking ahead to next year. couple of things. Next year, the freshmen will be at the high school. So we are considering some pre-ACT type things for the freshmen. However, I will tell you the continued, Missouri's ability to continue the ACT test for all juniors, I would say, is very much in question, strictly because of a funding issue. So whether that continues year to year, that's unknown at this point. I wouldn't be overly confident that that's on solid ground. I think that's fairly questionable at this point as to whether that continues.
What would it cost us to administer that? What is it? I
I think it's around
$60
$60, so you're looking at around 2,000.
Yeah, $2,000.
Is that right? Or am I, did I leave out a zero?
$20,000.
20,000.
Yeah, I was going to
There's
say,
another
that was
zero.
21. I had 21,000 in my.
Who's the math guy?
I recognized it right away.
You just dropped a decimal point.
I knew I checked my answer for reasonableness and knew that I didn't pass that test. So, but it'll be, we hope that it continues. I think, as we've said before, it gives opportunities to students that otherwise may not have that opportunity. So I'm hopeful that it continues, but budget realities may force a change.
Right.
So. Wow. One other test, the Access for ELL. ELL is for English Language Learners. The Access is a test used to measure specifically English language acquisition. So how well they are doing at coming to the United States and being able to speak academic level English, not just conversational English, but academic level English. There are 4 modes that we assess them in: speaking, listening, reading, and writing. It is also now an online assessment, as they all are. We have completed access testing already this year. There were 158 students that we assessed in our district. Primarily, just under 100 of those, over 100 of those, 135 are at the elementary level, which has been common for us with students coming here at young ages and then either graduating out of the program or leaving the community at some point. So about almost identical to the same number of students that we assessed last year for ELL testing. Fitting into this also is the advanced placement testing at the high school. As we look at all the advanced placement courses offered at RHS, along with that comes the specific AP testing. That occurs at the high school May 1 through May 12. Nothing different about that other than just when you throw in MAP testing, end of course testing, ACT testing, ASVAB testing, AP testing, the management of it is kind of the struggle and the organization. And then just making sure that, again, kids are comfortable, not over-assessed, and are able to do their best on each of these. So spacing them out to where it's a reasonable amount is what we strive for. So changing assessments, which seems like I was thinking about this. I tried to put down how many different assessments we have, and I've honestly lost track and lost interest in counting it too at some point. So this test is the same test that as far as the grade level test and the end of course test, they are written to the same standards as they were last year. So they're the same assessment. We've talked about here, Missouri did adopt new Missouri learning standards in April 2016. We're in the process of revising all district curriculum now to reflect that to begin next year. And the spring 2018 assessments will be written to the new Missouri learning standards. So it will be another new, technically, assessment. The change for us will be fairly minor. There are new standards, but not drastic. Where it starts getting complicated is in the accountability measures for schools in Missouri. For our APR, the law says that it requires 3 years of consistent testing data of the same test before decisions can be made about school districts' accreditation. We, since 2014, have been unable to string together 3 straight years of the same assessment, and we're starting over next year. So there is a real question at the state level, and one that has not been answered yet, as to how they will handle the new assessments and accountability. And quite frankly, we've received different answers at different times about how those would be handled. So we're still waiting on some final decision about how they'll handle assessment scores. So all of this, constant state of change. I'm confident, I will say, I'm confident we're coming to an end to that, I believe. I think the new Missouri Learning Standards were developed in a way that they'll have some lasting, some staying power, and will stay consistent, and I think assessments will stay consistent. So we're about out of this cycle that we've been in for the last 5 years, but just not yet. So
Be careful what you.
I think we're close, though. I think we are close. So that's a lot about assessments and lots of different types. I'd be happy to take any questions you have about our preparation or things coming up.
What was the testing website you said where you can go and do some of the practice?
It's a complicated one, but if you Google MO, M-O-D-R-C, which is Data Recognition Corporation, MO DRC, it will be the first thing that you get there. And I assume you can probably get there from the DESE website. I've just got it bookmarked. But I'll send out the map letter. Maybe I'll send you guys the map letter, and it has the link in it. I probably should have mentioned, I failed to mention, all of these assessments that I'm talking about will kick up with that about the second week of April. Elementaries will be around the third week of April. The larger schools, junior high, middle school, that have a lot of assessments, they'll start a little bit earlier. But this will all be post-spring break.
Okay.
And we'll kind of cover the end of April into around the first week of May is kind of our district testing calendar.
Any other questions?
Craig, have you gotten any feedback from high school counselors? I know we've talked about this before, Keith. I think you brought it up. If any kids maybe that weren't thinking about post-high school education, but because they've been able to take the ACT and maybe stimulated them enough to want to pursue that. Have you gotten any feedback about that?
They haven't spoken to me.
How many years have we done it now? 2?
This is, we've done it 2 years. So this will be year 3
Right.
coming up. That's a good, I need to probably talk with Dr. Pritchett. Most of those conversations would go through Dr. Pritchett probably. So I'll speak with him and kind of see if we have anything like that. Typically, we used to, just for us, in a typical year, we used to have about 2/3 of our
Right.
graduates take the ACT. Was kind of about our leveling point, plus or minus a few percentage points. But, you know, in a graduating class of, you know, around 300, that's 100 additional kids who are getting access to the test that in the past weren't. So
Yeah.
there's got to be some benefit there, I think.
Very
Well,
good.
hopefully the state
Well done again, Craig.